Your newborn's hands are moving right now, and they're saying something. Not randomly, not reflexively. Something specific about their nervous system, their emotional state, and what they need from you in this exact moment. Most parents never learn to read it. They watch those tiny fingers flutter and curl and splay and assume it's just baby stuff. It isn't. What I'm about to show you is one of the most overlooked windows into your newborn's inner world. And once you see it, you will never look at your baby's hands the same way again. Stay through to the end, because the last signal on this list is the one that tells you the most, and almost nobody talks about it. The clenched fist is probably the hand position you've seen most, and if you've Googled it, you've probably read that it's just a reflex. The palmar grasp reflex, present from birth, fading around 4 to 6 months. That's true, but it's only half the story. The palmar grasp reflex is hardwired into the subcortical brain, meaning it fires before your baby's cortex, the thinking part of the brain, has any say in the matter. But here's what's fascinating. The tightness of that fist, and when it appears, tells you something the reflex alone doesn't. When a newborn is calm and drowsy, their hands tend to be loosely curled, fingers relaxed, not gripping. The moment stress enters the picture, hunger, an unfamiliar sound, a temperature shift, overstimulation, that fist tightens. Neonatologists and occupational therapists who work in the NICU have used hand state as a stress indicator for decades. A baby whose hands are consistently clenched tight during awake periods is often a baby who is working hard to regulate. Think of it this way. Your baby doesn't have words. They don't have facial expressions sophisticated enough yet to communicate the full range of what they feel. But their nervous system is broadcasting constantly, and the hands are one of the clearest signals on the dial. So what do you do with a tightly fisted newborn? Developmental occupational therapists often recommend what's called hand containment, gently cupping both of your hands around your baby's fists without forcing them open. The pressure is calming. It mimics the contained feeling of the womb. Parents who learn this often describe it as watching their baby visibly exhale. If your baby seems to spend most of their awake time with tightly clenched fists, drop a comment below. I want to know how old they are. There's a developmental reason why this shifts, and it's worth talking about. If the clenched fist is the nervous system saying, hold on, the full finger splay is the nervous system saying, alarm. You've seen this. The baby is lying peacefully, then something shifts. A sound, a sensation of falling, a sudden light, and the arms fly outward, fingers fanning apart like a tiny starfish. This is the Moro reflex, one of the most well-documented primitive reflexes in developmental neurology. It's present from birth and typically integrates, meaning it stops firing automatically, somewhere between 3 and 6 months. But here's the part that matters for your daily life. The Moro reflex isn't just a party trick. Its presence tells pediatric neurologists that the brainstem is functioning. Its absence at birth is a clinical concern, and its persistence past 6 months, if a baby is still startling dramatically, to minor stimuli at 7, 8, 9 months, is something worth mentioning to your pediatrician, because it can sometimes signal that reflex integration is delayed. The finger splay within the Moro isn't random either. Watch closely next time. The fingers don't just spread, they hyperextend. They reach back, away from the palm. That hyperextension is the nervous system doing a full-body broadcast. I am not safe right now. It's primal. It's ancient. It predates language by millions of years of evolution. What helps? Swaddling is the most researched answer, not because it suppresses the reflex, but because the proprioceptive input of snug fabric reduces the frequency of triggering it. A baby who startles themselves awake repeatedly is often a baby whose moro is being triggered by their own limb movement. Swaddling interrupts that cycle. If you've ever wondered why your baby sleeps better wrapped tight, now you know. And if that hit home, you know what to do. What we've covered so far, the fist, the splay, those are the signals most parents eventually notice but never fully understand. What's coming next is subtler, and honestly, it's the stuff that separates parents who feel constantly confused by their baby from parents who feel genuinely connected to them. If this kind of depth is what you're here for, the real developmental science behind what your baby is doing and why, subscribing takes 1 second, and this is exactly what we do every week. Here's the signal most parents never consciously notice, but feel instinctively without knowing what they're reading. When a newborn is in a state of calm alertness, what developmental researchers call quiet alert state, one of the 6 identified newborn behavioral states, their hands do something specific. The fingers begin to unfurl, not fully open, not fisted, somewhere in between, a soft, loose curl, like a hand resting in warm water. This is the hand position of a regulated nervous system. It's the baby equivalent of uncrossed arms. It means the sensory environment is manageable. The body is not in stress response mode. And, critically, the baby is most available for connection and learning. Infant development researchers have observed for decades that babies in quiet alert state show the highest responsiveness to faces, voices, and interaction. If you want to have a conversation with your newborn, those proto-conversations of gaze and coo and pause that actually build the neural architecture for language, this is the window, and the hands will tell you when that window is open. The reverse is equally true. Watch what happens to those loosely curled fingers when you introduce one stimulus too many, a new voice, a brighter light, a change in position. The curl tightens, the fist returns, the window closes. Your baby is not being difficult. Their nervous system just hit its bandwidth limit. The hands told you first. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever noticed this shift in your baby's hands and not known what it meant? Comment below. I genuinely want to know. This is the one. The hand position that tells you more than almost any other, and that is almost universally misread. When a newborn brings their hand toward their mouth, most parents assume one thing: hunger, and sometimes they're right. But hand-to-mouth in newborns is primarily a self-regulation behavior. It is your baby actively trying to calm themselves down. The mouth is the most neurologically rich sensory region a newborn has access to. The density of sensory receptors around the lips and tongue is extraordinary. It's why newborns explore the world orally, long before their hands develop the motor precision to do it. When a baby brings their hand to their mouth, they are self-administering proprioceptive and oral input to downregulate their own nervous system. This behavior actually emerges in the womb. Ultrasound imaging has documented fetuses bringing hands to mouths as early as the 2nd trimester, long before hunger is a concept. It is a self-soothing mechanism that predates birth. Why does this matter? Because if you respond to every hand-to-mouth movement with a feed, you may be overriding one of your baby's earliest attempts at self-regulation. That doesn't mean ignore hunger cues, of course not. But hand-to-mouth alone, without other hunger signals like rooting, lip smacking, or increasing agitation, is often your baby saying, "I'm working on calming myself. Give me a moment." Pediatric occupational therapists often teach parents to pause for 30 seconds when they see hand-to-mouth. Watch what else is happening. Is the baby rooting, escalating, or settling? The answer will usually be clear within half a minute. And here's the part that genuinely moved me when I first understood it. A baby who can bring their hand to their mouth and find some calm, there is already practicing the most fundamental skill in human emotional life: self-regulation. They're doing it with their hands, before they have words, before they have memories. That's not just biology. That's the beginning of who they're going to be. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who takes this seriously, and that matters more than you know. The research on parental attunement is clear. Parents who understand what their baby's signals mean respond more sensitively, and that sensitivity is one of the strongest predictors of secure attachment we have. Subscribe, because this is the kind of depth we bring every single week. Your baby has been speaking this language since before they were born. Now you know how to listen. Thanks for watching. The end screen has more videos in the same world. Pick whichever video on the end screen calls to you. There's more here for curious parents.